Oh, oh, what's happening here? Okay, looks like it's gone through now.
Okay.
So your film had its Western Canadian premiere at the Whistler Film Festival on the 3rd.
Yes, December 3rd. Yes. Yeah, it's been an exciting last week or so. Yeah, it's been fun.
You've been barraged with a bunch of interviews, have you, or?
I've done a few, and yeah, they're a lot of fun, and there's been a lot of interest in the film. I think partly because our cast is some of our cast is in Toronto and Vancouver, so a lot of their friends and family and contacts weren't able to see the film until it premiered at Whistler, because previously it screened at Finn Atlantic, which was geocached to Atlantic Canada. So it's been fun for us to be able to finally share their work.
Well, yeah, and being able to, because it's across Canada. I mean, anybody in Canada can watch it, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, they've waited a long time and worked pretty hard on this movie. So, yeah, pretty special for them to be able to finally, yeah, share with their peeps, I guess you could say.
You got some pretty raw emotion out of the actors. Like the scene in the hockey arena. Just, can you go over that scene a bit without obviously spoiling anything, for people who haven't seen it yet, but.
Sure. And I've been told that I write pain really well, and I don't know where that really comes from, because I'm generally a happy person, but
Right.
But I know that scene, Colin as the character Nicky, he's a pretty quiet guy, like the character quiet guy. So, throughout the film, you just kind of see him bubbling up, and that's a quite a scene for him, because it's really his big moment, and it was important for me, for that to happen in a hockey rink, because really the hockey rink, it's like the line that Jordy says when he comes into the rink. He says, hockey rinks are like Catholic churches, pretty much the same wherever you go. And I wanted that space to feel holy, and a place where it would make sense that, maybe everything would come to a head. I don't either, but I wanted it to feel like a sacred space. So, it was the end of a long shoot day, and we had the guys at the arena were like sitting around waiting to boot us out. We had a deadline. I didn't even get all the shots I wanted in there because we had to leave. But so everyone was really tired and hungry, and the usual crew thing. But the actors were so into it, and Colin said to me, he was sitting in the penalty box before the first shot, and I checked in with him to see how he was feeling, and he said, "I'm going to come out swinging." And I remember saying to him, but we have to do the wide first, because usually in film, you'll kind of build up, I guess, to the close-ups and to the really raw emotion. I didn't want him to expend too much energy too fast. Right. But he was just so into it, and I mean, so was Rye as Jordy. I mean, they're just the two most fabulous guys to work with. Really awesome. They had so much respect for me as a first-time director, and they eased my nerves, and they're just so serious about their characters, and it was it was a really surreal experience shooting that scene. It was very special.
Yeah. It comes across on film for sure. And Rye seems to be like a natural. Does he just exude that confidence on? Because he comes across as like, he just seems so natural on camera. Like some of the others kind of seemed off kilter when he was in scene with them, because he's just such a strong performer. Were you able to get? Is that just something that he comes across naturally, or just?
Are you talking about Rye as Jordy?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
This isn't like, is he? Because he just seems to be able to cry on cue. Like,
Oh,
I've
okay.
noticed that with Christine Lottie. Like Christine Lottie is like one of my favorite actresses, and she
Okay.
seems to be able to just cry on cue, and he seems to have that talent too. Just
Yeah.
you know,
And
get the
it,
tears going.
that's one of the reasons I wanted to cast him because, I wanted that big, strong guy that can exude lots of rage in a hockey game. I wanted to really explore that arc of finding the little boy inside that still hurt, and being able to find an actor like a big guy like him, kind of ragged looking, and then find that vulnerability and have an actor that could play that vulnerability. It was I mean, I think he is. I'm sure there are lots of actors that can do that, but in our case, I think we were really lucky to find Rye Barrett because, he just was such a gift to the production, and yeah, he it was interesting because when he was Geordie, he was really Geordie, and most of the time I saw him, he was Geordie because he was on set and he was working as Geordie. And then we went to the rap party, and he was Rye Barrett again, and I remember being kind of taken aback by that and just being like, oh wow, like you really are a good actor because in my head you're Geordie. And it was just an interesting experience for me, directing like as a first time feature film director, um, to work with actors of that caliber that were able to, you know, really do the work and be Nikki and Jordy, and then be able to step outside of that and at the end of the day and be themselves again. It was exciting. It was fun. It was a whole new experience for me on that level with a
Yeah,
feature.
well, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is any of this is any of this um, based on any kind of personal experience? This story, is it a personal story, or is it just something that you kind of made up?
Um, Personal in the sense that I've had people in my life who've had issues with alcohol. I had an ex-husband who liked to drink a lot, and but it's certainly not his story in any other sense. It I don't know. The story came from sitting at a hockey game in Peterborough as a newly divorced single mother with a 4-year-old child, and feeling like I had to take him to the hockey game because his dad wasn't there, so the mom had to do it, and then just
Right.
kind of drifting off and watching the game and watching the players and imagining what their lives might be like. So I think it's different aspects of my life that kind of came together. Um, and at that time, I was living in Peterborough, Ontario, for about 3 years, and I ended up moving back to the Maritimes because there's a real special um, essence about living in the Maritimes. And so, I was someone who lived away and was really very much alone, and came back and still felt alone a lot of the time because I had lost a lot of my connections with people. But um, so I guess that's in the story too, the aspect of, sort of that prodigal child coming home. So that's personal. That was very personal. The loneliness, that kind of thing. Because I have moved around a lot and had been a single mother, for a lot of years, that's all, I guess that's all part of my personal story. So,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. But do I know two guys who live in a small fishing village and yeah, that experience this? No, the rest of it is.
You're not naming names anyway.
I'm not naming names anyway. There are lots of fishing communities around here though, and lots of
Yeah.
families that lots of people do leave PEI and go out west to work, and have to leave their families behind, and so yeah, it could be two real guys.
Well, they seemed real on screen because they had that they had that animosity that siblings sometimes get. Right. There's that breakup of family that's hard to get that bond back.
Yeah.
The family structure, with their dad, they never really divulge too much information on what happened in the past, but then that comes to a head or near the end, and it just I thought it was just a really well orchestrated film. It just
Oh,
worked.
thank you.
And
And
I
then
watch a lot of movies, and yeah, so
oh, thank you. I hope you get a sense of, the maritime feel and the fishing village. That was important to me to really have a sense of place, so I hope that came across, and yeah.
well, it came across as a community, because the one thing I noticed, the houses that you chose to use, I don't know if they're yours or friends or family. Um, the one thing I noticed, the most importantly, that you don't see is fences between the properties.
No, I mean, there just aren't fences between the properties in PEI unless you're in town, like or in like
Yeah, this
Charlottetown. Yeah, Charlottetown or Summerside, you'd see some fences. But no, there's a lot more space here. I mean, I lived in Vancouver the year I went to film school, and I was amazed how close the houses were together. But the houses that we chose for the film, they're actually summer homes. They belong to people who, one of Nikki's house belongs to a family from Texas, and Abby's house belongs to a family from Ontario, and then Jordy's house actually belongs to a family from where I'm from in Summerside. So they're close by, but that's their cottage. They have a house in town. And the reason I chose the summer homes was because I really wanted, well, I wanted the water in the background for one thing. And a lot of homes in the summer, they're usually, people want to be by the water.
Right.
So that's where they're built. But the other reason was because we wanted houses that were vacant that we would have access to for an extended period. So, and they're all fabulous. I just knocked on someone's door one day and said, your house would be perfect for my movie. And so we had a chat, and they sent me to the neighbors, and I went and had a chat with them, and then we had an evening meeting one night and just explained how it would all work, and they were like, yeah, go for it. They were fabulous, very supportive.
That makes it easy for a first-time director.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about a film crew is you can take over space, pretty easily. So they were absolutely wonderful, and they're still supportive today. Like I don't know if they've all seen the film yet. Some of them have, but
Right.
yeah, no, they were great.
Any plans on doing a private screening in town of your
We
film?
we will for sure, when COVID lets up, I
Yeah.
think. Right now I can't wait to the days when we can go back and fill a theater again. I hope those days come back, because that's the magic of making a film like this. To be able to sit in a theater and watch it play out on the big screen with sound, the way sound was designed for the film, and
Exactly.
and share the experience and eat popcorn while we're watching, like all that stuff. When you dream about it for many years dreaming about making a feature, and then, for me, it always includes, the popcorn and
Well, yeah, and like you say, the experience of seeing it there with a crowd of people, getting the emotion that's coming off the screen.
and finding out.
Because so often, it's pause, go get something to eat, come back. You can't do that in the theater. So
No, and I mean, who knows, how people watch movies at home today, but I mean, they probably have their phones in their hands, and I hope they don't, but definitely in the theater, it's a really immersive experience. So
yes.
yeah, and especially with the sound. I know I don't personally have a nice home theater system. I wish I did, with, great speakers and all that, and maybe someday I will, but right now I don't. So I'd love to experience it with the sound design, the way it was designed to be experienced. And I
Yeah.
feel like, people are missing out these days because they're not getting that experience. So
Exactly.
yeah, so hopefully someday, be able to watch it, and especially around here where so many people were involved in the film,
Right.
it'd be great to fill the theater with those people too, and it's a very supportive community. So yeah, we'll see.
How long did the movie take to shoot?
We shot for 23 days.
Oh, okay.
We did all the hockey first,
Right.
because partly because partly because they were some of the more difficult scenes to shoot, and I kind of wanted to get them out of the way. But it was also a little scary, showing up the first day and having all these hockey players on the ice and going, "Oh, what have I gotten myself into?" But it worked out. It worked out fine. We had a local guy, James Harper, his name was, and he was our technical coordinator. So my go-to guy if I needed help. If I explained this is what happened in the script, what would that look like on the ice, kind of thing. He was there to help us out, and that was great. And the other reason was that we were working against the clock because the rinks were closing. They take the ice out in the summer here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we needed to get in at a time when the ice surface was available. Nobody was using it, or they took the ice out. So I had a bit of that pressure. So,
Right.
yeah.
No wonder you shot the hockey first.
Exactly.
Or they'd be playing street hockey, looking out for cars.
Yeah. There originally was a street hockey scene in the beginning of the movie, but we
Oh, was there?
we didn't end up shooting it. I cut it early on before we went to camera.
That'd be a director's cut edition.
Yeah.
Bring out.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing an interview with Mike Myers, and when he did Wayne's World, and there was a scene where he and Wayne and Garth are playing street hockey, and then they yell car, and then they pull the traditional, they take the net out of the street. He said in LA it was a dud. He said when he premiered it in Toronto, he said it got the biggest reaction.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's so true, because it's so real, right?
It's so Canadian, right?
Yep. We did that here. Yeah.
So some other stuff is you just got, well, right behind you on your wall that people can't see.
All right.
The Drifter series, A Song for Josh, was the first of the series, right? And you just had the number 16 come out. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, there are 15 books in the Drifter series, and then I started a new series called the Dallas White series, but I ended up carrying some of the Drifters characters over into the new series, just because I love writing about them so much that I ended up bringing them back in. So I have 15 books in the Drifter series, and then I have 2 published in the Dallas White series, and I finished the 3rd. But I haven't published it yet. I still have to edit it.
Oh, okay.
So and I've started the 4th in that. So there are a couple new books coming out as part of the Dallas White series.
Busy lady.
Lots going on.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah.
And how accurate is this? There's apparently a TV series coming out, or something happening with that, or?
Well, the Drifter series has been optioned for TV, but the producers haven't found a home for it yet. So we're still kind of waiting to see where that's going to go. COVID has really put a damper on, I think, some of the broadcasters and some of the larger partners. Everybody's, I think, kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. So I hope that they will still find a home for it. In the meantime, I'm shopping the 2nd series, the Dallas White series. I'm shopping that around. I wrote a TV pilot for that series. Putting the pitch package together and trying to get that out there. So we'll see. If it doesn't make it to TV, then it may be my next feature. We're not sure yet.
Well, I was just going to ask that if it does happen, what's the likelihood of you being able to direct the first episode or maybe all of the episodes?
I'm not sure when it comes to TV. I mean, I would, for the Dallas series, I would like to be a producer on that series. For the Drifter series, I would probably be more of a consultant. I'm not sure that they would bring me in. I don't have enough experience yet, maybe for them, um, but I mean, if I end up taking the Dallas series, if it doesn't go to TV, and I do decide to shoot a feature film instead, like at least for one of the early books in the series, then I would definitely direct that for sure. Yeah, I love directing. It's just I feel so at home on set. I like the challenge of putting out fires and dealing with things that come up and trying to be that calm voice that you know keeps everybody else calm. I'm kind of a shy person, believe it or not, but I feel really at home on a film set.
So how does that translate from paper to screen, and then getting that same emotion that you want from the actors? Is that a big challenge for you? Because sometimes it's not easy to get that same reaction that you're wanting.
They're, I mean, I think the actors, you have to give them a lot of credit because they research the character, they talk to me, and we have that communication, so we're all on the same page. And then then I have to trust them to go and do their work. And sometimes they like, sometimes magic happens, and then they would surprise me, and
Right.
something you wouldn't expect would happen, and it's absolutely magical. But there were a couple times that I on this show that I remember, um, thinking that maybe we didn't get it in the first take or the second take, and trying to find the dialogue to communicate can be a little bit challenging to really get it across. That maybe the way they delivered the performance wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but and I think for me, that's probably the hardest part of directing is being able to find the right words, the right dialogue to communicate, what it is that I'm looking for. But that was a rare thing. Like most of the time, we had enough conversations beforehand, and the actors had enough confidence in their characters that we were able to dig in and collaboratively get the scene, filmed the way that I had dreamed of it. And that's half the fun, like seeing it on the page and then bringing it to life. It's just absolutely magical, pretty special. And we had a wonderful cinematographer, so of course that helped a lot too. But add the lighting and that kind of thing, and yeah.
Yeah, that definitely helps. Because that scene in the hockey arena on the ice and just the stream of light coming down, that's not an easy shot to capture on film because you have so much darkness.
Yeah.
And then you have this bright light, and then you got to make sure it doesn't glare because you want the actors to be seen, so you got to be able to tone that down, and yeah.
The right amount of diffusion, and there was quite a balance because it was really fun actually. We have some really fun behind the scenes pictures of crew like wading through the fog because we initially had too much, and it just because of the weather outside, the temperature outside and the temperature inside, and not really knowing how those smoke machines were going to deliver in such a big cavernous space. We have some great pictures of people just like, we could have shot a horror film in there at first. And in the end, we almost felt like we didn't have quite enough because it just kind of went away too quickly. And the other challenge was just having the right light. We called it the God light scene. It was always because in my Catholic church here in Summerside, there is a tiny window at the top, and that's where the inspiration for that scene came from. It's almost up like in the roof in the top corner, and it's meant, I'm sure, at least as a child, I always thought it was supposed to be God looking down at me. It almost was shaped kind of like an eye, and you'd have the light come through it. And so that was my goal initially when I wrote the script. I said I'd like to somehow, duplicate that sense that God is up there watching you. So when we put the light up, we refer to it as the God light.
Oh, okay.
So the scene was always the godlight scene, and that's supposed to be, God looking down on the boys and trying to help them find their peace. And so that there you know the behind the scenes for for that scene now. You're the only one who does, I
Awesome.
think, Anthony.
Oh, really?
I think so. Well, except for the the cast and the crew, but
Right. Outside of the film, though, you mean?
yeah, you
I'm
know
honored. Thank you.
where it came from.
Well, seeing as my website's called Behind the Scenes, it's only fitting that
Yeah,
I would get some behind the scenes information.
that's right. Perfect.
Now, you've also got your own little company as well, Blue Mountain Entertainment.
I do. So Blue Mountain Entertainment is a company I started when I left film school in 2008, and so I've done a lot of like client documentaries and music videos and some shorts and that kind of thing. And then I wrote all my books as well under that banner, Blue Mountain Entertainment. But when it came time to make Still the Water, I formed a larger company with a couple of producing friends, and we call that Mighty Ocean Film Incorporated. So for short, we call it MOFI, MOFI. So whenever we talk about it, it's Mofi. So Mofi, yeah. So yeah, we have big plans for Mofi.
Yeah,
We do,
that's,
we do.
that's great. So, I went to Vancouver Film School as well. 1995, I took an editing course.
Cool.
It was only 3 months, but I learned a lot about editing, and you know,
Right,
it
and
really
editing has changed a
appreciate.
lot
And
from
we were actually using the physical.
yeah.
We were using the film strip and the
Wow.
audio from the boom mic and the sticks, and did it all
Wow.
hands on. Yeah, and
That's
with
that's a fabulous experience to have had because it's gone now, really.
it is, it's all digital. I mean, before, I mean, she said that what they did is they took the film negative, they started to upload it into computers, and then they would edit it from the software there. But now, of course, it's all digital, and you can edit right on the camera now. And
Yeah, yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What an experience.
it was quite the experience because you really get an idea of what it goes into doing that edit. So
Yeah.
editors are on. My respect for editors is way up there.
Yeah. I love editing. Do you edit now at all?
Not in film or anything. No, I never took it any further.
Never took it
Because of
further.
course I'd have to get train. I'd have to get trained now in the digital aspect of it now.
Yeah, that's true. It's I find I mean, I think as a filmmaker, I think it's almost key to try to have some kind of an editing experience because even if you don't become a full-time editor, just because editing really teaches you to understand what like how much to film and how much you need, which shots you need, and I find that even on set you're thinking of what you're doing in terms of what you're going to give your editor, and
Right.
making sure that you don't leave any holes that are going to make it difficult for them to edit or I found when I left film school and came home and just started shooting client documentaries and that kind of thing, it was fabulous because I was editing the footage that I had taken, and so it was just a fabulous experience to train yourself. So
Right.
all of that really fed into being comfortable shooting a feature like Still the Water because I kind of skipped a few steps and I didn't shoot a lot of shorts. I kind of jumped into the feature kind of quickly, so not
That's
scared.
okay though, because it seemed to work well. You know, I mean, the thing with digital now is, I guess the days of the dailies are gone too, right? Because you can
Yeah,
just, oh, well, that didn't work, and we can just delete it, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it digital, there it does have certain advantages, and I mean it helped us with some continuity questions sometimes too. Being able to go back and see sometimes what somebody was wearing or something. But
Right.
um, we had another kind of interesting advantage on our set. There's a gentleman from Charlottetown here who had created he calls it on-set assistant, and it's how generally you'll have Video Village where you've got your main sort of monitor. In
Yeah.
most cases we would have that set up, but in certain cases it was more efficient to be able to use our friend's on-set assistant. And what it was, we had 4 tablets, so we gave them to key people, and you'd be able to go and just like communicate between departments for one thing. You could even draw on the screen if you needed to move a prop or a piece of set tech. You could circle it, and each department would have their own color. And so somebody else, you wouldn't have to speak to somebody across the set. They would see that on the screen, and then you could draw an arrow, and they would know, okay, I need to move that prop in this direction or whatever. But it was also handy for continuity. You could go back and play back certain scenes on there as well.
Right.
So the digital world, it's been interesting, and I've heard that system has just been picked up by some TV shows because of COVID, really, because they need that distance between departments. They don't want people, all looking at the same monitor, and so
Right.
this system allows the different departments to spread out. So it's quite fabulous. If you haven't heard of it, you should. When we're done, you should go and have a look on on
I think I
Google and
will.
look it up.
Yeah, that sounds interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, and I think it's a game changer. So yeah, we were lucky to have it for sure.
So anything else besides the fog machine that did you have any not disasters, but did you have any like inclement weather and didn't permit you to shoot sort of thing, or did you have any kind of actors sick and couldn't make it to set, or?
No, I mean, none of that. It was interesting because, we kind of complained a little bit about the weather sometimes because it was cold. We were
Right.
shooting in the spring, and the wind in Prince Edward Island in the spring, if you get a biting north wind, it can be extremely cold and uncomfortable. So, I mean, I felt like I sometimes didn't matter how many layers you put on, you couldn't get warm. But at the same time, I remember saying on the day, when we'd be shooting, oh, well, it's cold, but this is going to be great for the movie. And if you watch the film, like it's actually almost remarkable how well the weather suited every scene, because even the little street hockey game at the end, the sun is out for that, and we couldn't have asked for, it was the only time we saw the sun the whole week when we were shooting at those houses. And it was perfect. And then another example of that would be the day that we went out on the fishing boat. We went out I think we were on that boat for about 12 hours, and it was freezing rain. And when you're out on a fishing boat in the freezing rain, it was extremely cold and wet, and you can hear the freezing rain in the film.
Right.
Our sound guy picked it up, and we were so cold, but we had such a happy, passionate crew. They're just so happy to be shooting anything, especially a feature here, and which kind of made up for some of the inexperience too, which you run into in a location like ours, a remote location. But on the way in on that fishing boat that day, it was probably the most joyful I ever saw the crew. Everybody was cheering, and it wasn't because we were going in, it was because we were on this fishing boat making this movie, and everyone was just so happy. And I have this picture I just love of myself with my arms outstretched, and it was just honestly one of the most joyful moments of my entire life, just sheer joy. Soaking wet, freezing cold, hungry, but so joyful.
But in your prime.
And yeah,
Did, in your moment. Yeah.
It was like my Titanic moment. It was like I probably said that too. I'm the queen of the world. I don't know.
You're
But
the wrong side of the boat, though. Probably at the back end of the boat, right? You weren't at the front of the boat.
I was at that point. I was in the back of the boat. I was in the stern, and the captain the skipper had just gone full throttle, and we were going at top speed.
Right.
And and you had lighthouses, and you had the wake around you, and yeah, and it was fun. And we still had to pull up to the dock and shoot a lot of the overboard scenes the same day, so we still had quite a bit ahead of us, but it was a very good memory.
So I mean, the film's going to be showing at Whistler until the 20th. What's after that? Is the film going to anything else? Have you got any other festivals it's going to, or is it kind of
um,
up in the air right now?
I've submitted to a few other festivals. I didn't submit to a lot just because we already had distribution, and with COVID and everything, I don't know, just wasn't sure what was going to happen with the festivals.
Right.
So, but I did submit to a few more. I haven't heard from them yet, so
Oh,
we
okay.
waiting to hear. I'm hoping that we'll get a few more in the new year, and then we do have distribution. So um, I think the plan is to release the film officially around the world in the spring.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll see where we end up, but I
Is
feel
that
like,
through your own? Is that through your own, or have you got an actual studio behind the film,
well,
or
we
can
we
you
don't have
say
a,
that?
don't have a studio behind it, but we have a company in Canada called Indie Can. You probably know
Yeah.
Avi Fettergreen, yep. So
Yeah.
he's our Canadian distributor, and then we went with a company called Indie Rights out of LA for the rest of
Yeah.
the world. So she'll release
Oh,
in the
oh,
US and then around the world. Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Indie Rates has some good distribution.
um oh, so you're familiar with Indie Rights. Okay. Yeah. I think she's
Yeah.
got some good
Yeah.
networks. So
She does. Yeah. Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how it does, because I mean, right now we're definitely hearing good things. The movie's probably more maybe more commercial than some film festival type films, because the music, and it's got that sort of intense kind of I don't know, pain, I suppose, drama, but augmented by a powerful soundtrack, which I don't think you see much in films these days. So it'll be interesting to see how people respond to that.
Yeah. I know with the poster, people can easily see that it's a Canadian film with the toques. It's like you don't even have to put the Canadian stamp on it. You can just throw some toques on. It's Canadian, eh?
Okay, you're the first person who said that to me. I didn't know that. Don't they wear toques in the US?
Not as much as they do up here, though. 'Cause
Yeah,
we get that bitter cold, right?
yeah, we need them, especially on PEI when you have that bitter north wind. It can get pretty cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
because a lot of the movies from the States, they always have people have guns out, or knives or something on the front cover, right? So it's like
That's very true. Yeah, I've noticed that.
toques. Toques are harmless, right? They keep you warm.
That's true. And plus, if you look behind the background too, you've got that beautiful fishing village behind you. So
Oh, I know.
behind the guys. So that definitely feels very Canadian, probably. Yeah.
Did you have anything else you'd like to add at all, or?
Um, I don't know. I guess just that the movie really is about forgiveness and hope, and my intention with all of my storytelling is to help people, I think, realize that, you know, they can heal their own relationships within families or with friends. So I hope that the movie helps people start to think in those terms. I hope it brings some families back together. And yeah, I'm pleased with it, and I'm very grateful to Whistler for choosing the film for sure, and for giving us this exposure. And I'm grateful to you, Anthony, too, for giving us some exposure. And yeah,
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for the time.
oh,
And I think it helps that the director is also a strong writer, so it, in terms of the actors being able to portray it on screen, helps that you're both the writer and the director, so it meshes well because you know what you want from those characters.
you feel it. I feel it intensely. You know, I feel all that emotion myself, and with the book series too, I do. So I think it comes across in the writing there too. So thank you for saying that, and I hope I get the opportunity to make another feature someday. I hope so.
I hope so too. I look forward to seeing your future work, and I thank you, and I think Jordan. Jordan contacted me in regards to the film. I didn't even know about the film prior to the festival, and
Okay.
Jordan reached out to me and he contacted me and wanted to know if I wanted to see the movie and possibly talk to you. So I'd like to thank him for allowing this to happen, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this.
Oh, anytime. And if you have any more questions, by all means, just fire me off a note on Messenger, and yeah,
Well,
I'd
do.
be happy to help. And if you decide that you like the music in it, we have a Spotify playlist, so
Oh,
you can get your Still the Water fix.
nice.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Susan. Very nice to talk to you, get to meet you, and
Nice to meet you too.
visually anyway. Maybe one day in person. If
I hope so. Yeah, I'd
and
love to get there.
we're still in restrictions over here until the 8th of January.
Wow, my son actually lives in Vancouver, so yeah, he's pretty much locked down too. So
Yeah,
stay safe. Stay
you
safe out
too.
there.
You
Yeah.
as all the
Uh,
best. Some great success with the film.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Bye.
Bye.